All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State. We have a very special guest here today. We're in the Choose New Jersey offices, the conference room, so shout out to them for allowing us to come through and use their stuff. I texted Wes this morning, and he had a lunch meeting, so he couldn't stop by. But very special guest.
Busy guy.
Busy guy, of course. You keep him busy.
Yep.
Governor Phil Murphy. Governor, welcome to the show.
Mike, nice to have you, man. Love the hat, love the coat.
Absolutely.
Love being with you.
We have to get you a hat, I feel like.
I
or at least a
feel that
pin.
way.
I'll get you like one of these little
Maybe a
Jersey
pin.
lightning bolt pins.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you've been doing a lot of media stuff, but also since we're here with Choose, a lot of stuff with Choose recently, some overseas trips, international trips, and really trying to show everybody what Jersey's all about. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Jersey sells really well internationally. Our location, our diversity, the amount of multinationals that are here already.
Yeah.
Again, proximity to New York, our ports, airports. So we, with Choose, do a bunch of economic missions and basically pitch the state for jobs, for investment. We just came back from the Gulf, so we're in Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain. Very successful.
Yeah.
We'll do a couple more before we're out of office. Probably get back to India. Would love to hit Mexico. And so we'll take it from there.
Yeah. I'm curious, so if people don't know this and somehow you skated this for the last 8 years, you're not a born and raised Jersey guy.
I'm not.
So
born in Boston.
Which doesn't preclude you from being a part of the show, at least.
No,
so we appreciate that.
Although I did have to show my papers on the way in here. I want folks to know. Yeah. Now, born in Boston, grew up outside of Boston, but bought our home in Monmouth County to raise our kids.
Yeah.
And when I was campaigning, I used to say, wait a minute, did you get a choice where you were born? I didn't think so.
Right,
but you can choose where your kids are born.
That's
and that's what my wife and I did, and best decision we ever made.
Yeah, and at what point, because I know obviously like the finance background, the diplomacy background, so at what point in your career did you move to Monmouth County?
So we were in Asia, living in Hong Kong, just having our first child.
Yep.
And my wife made the observation that most of the expats that we knew got pulled back to headquarters either before the amount of time they were anticipating, but in some cases after.
Yeah.
And she said, I don't want to be caught flat-footed.
Sure.
I'd love to have a home, love to know where the kids are going to go to school. We kicked the tires in greater New York. We were pretty convinced from the get-go, even though we love New York City, that we weren't going to be in New York City. And then a friend of ours said, listen, you got to check out the Two River area of Monmouth County, and it had us at hello, as they say in the movies. And we've loved it there. It's the best decision we ever made.
Yeah. Was there a moment like in when you first moved there, and obviously, like I said, you spent time overseas, all that kind of stuff. Was there a moment where Jersey finally was like, this is home? Was it like immediately, or was it instantly?
We had a ton of friends there already. I had worked in New York City for a bunch of years, as had my wife, Tammy. So we knew the place.
Yeah.
We always loved it. We loved the attitude, the character, you talking to me stuff, and that sort of fits very nicely with who we are. And instantly love the place from the moment one, and love it now more than ever before.
Yeah, it really is. Like, we're actually getting married in October in Asbury Park.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, nice.
And that's just, Monmouth County, Asbury Park in particular is like such a big part of, like my life overall, her life as well, and then just getting to a point where now we're looking for places, and it was a no-brainer.
Is she a Jersey gal?
She lived in Montclair her entire life, and
the
now we
People's
live in
Republic
Bloomfield.
of Montclair.
That's right. Yeah. No, but I think that's really great, and it obviously great that it was something that drew you in right away, because it has that effect on people.
No question.
I'm curious now, like almost on the reverse, because one of the things that we always say is that no matter where you go, you always bump into somebody from Jersey. Like we went to Key West Memorial Day weekend. So we're down in Key West, and I was sitting on the beach, and I have a New Jersey tattoo on my side, and somebody walks.
You're not going to show it in this program.
I mean,
right?
I will. Like,
okay.
this is that kind of
check
show.
In with the censors out
but
there, okay.
no. So somebody walked up and like, oh, I'm from New Brunswick, and I was like, that's crazy. Yeah. But it's like one of those things where everywhere you go, there you are. I mean, do you notice that even now, doing all the stuff that you're doing?
All the time.
Yeah.
Including elected politicians who are from New Jersey. The governor of West Virginia is from New Jersey.
Oh, is he? I didn't even realize that.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Particularly in the talent space. It just blows your mind the amount of folks who have Jersey roots.
Yeah.
You and I were talking off camera. We saw Jack Antonoff at the Stone Pony Summer Stage on Saturday night. Jack's a great example. He's a Bergen County guy.
Yeah.
He counts now both Monmouth County and LBI as his homes. This guy's the mega producer in pop today, a great performer. He's one example of literally, and you know it, thousands. Not to mention the guys like you talked about from New Brunswick, where you're somewhere, where you from? Boom, instant connection. Somebody's from Jersey, and I don't think any other state is like that, I have to say.
No, I really don't think. I don't think so either. I was listening to you on another show talking about like soccer talent that comes out of New Jersey, but like if you really start to dig, like the amount of just unbelievable people that are from New Jersey that like you don't even realize it. You know, like from Danny DeVito, or like I'm an old school wrestling fan, like a Bam Bam Bigelow from Asbury Park. I mean, you know, just like anybody. It's just you really start to look through, and then even people that have now, even though maybe they're not from here originally, have made it their home for whatever reason. You know, like an Eli Manning or a Stephen Colbert, or people like that.
Bet.
So it's really impressive.
And they behave, even though they're not from here originally, as though this is the place they've always been and always will be. And it's a magical place. I don't think any other place in America has casts that spell.
No,
like
definitely not. And I think it's interesting too, because like, you know, we could always do the same, you know, questions about The Sopranos or the Jersey Shore, you know, all the stuff that people talk about when I go other places. People are like, "Oh, you friends with Snooki?" And I'm like, "No." We get that all the time. But I think what's interesting, the fact that like there's such a fascination with New Jersey, like from people outside of it. Like they love to hate, but I think it's just A, they're jealous, and B, they just don't quite get it. Yeah. So they get like these little lenses into what we're all about, and then you have, you know, cultural phenomenons like a Sopranos or a Jersey Shore, where people, you know, they get a glimpse into a little bit of what the state's all about, and it's pretty cool to see. Like, I mean, obviously, you know, you had that viral moment, we're from Jersey, baby, and you're not.
You're not, man.
Yeah, that's going to live with you for the rest of your life. I mean, it's going to live in infamy. Like, that's one of the best lines. We actually use that as a sweep on the station, on the radio station.
Yeah. There could be a lot worse lines to be known for sure,
it's
right?
pretty good when you really start to dig.
I'll tell you something that we talk about. We get back to, you said we work with Choose and we do these economic missions. One of the interesting elements of New Jersey is it's the most densely populated state in America. It's also, by many measures, the most diverse state in America. You combine density and diversity, it says a lot about our tolerance, our attitude, our character. We're a very unique state, and not that all of this is defined by math in terms of bodies per square mile. Yeah. But I said to somebody a few years ago, hey, we have the second largest South Asian population of any American state. And they said, well, who's got more? And I said, California's got slightly more. Yeah. And they said, well, California. I said, wait a minute. California is 19 and a half times geographically the size of New Jersey. Right. You could go months and not run into somebody from some other ethnicity or diaspora. You can't go a minute in New Jersey without bumping into somebody. 100%. Right? A different religion, different ethnicity, whatever it might be. And I think that says so much about our persona, our character. I've always thought that and always will. Yeah. It's honestly like, if we go back and look at some of the other episodes that we've done in the past, that's literally what I always say is one of my favorite things. Like, obviously, the density of the population, you know, we deal with a lot of traffic, but it makes us hardened individuals. It's true. But the diversity, like being one of the most diverse populations in the country, is something that makes you more worldly, more like aware of what makes people tick. You can like interact with people a little bit better. And it's why a company, you know, in Mumbai, India, 100%. Will look at us and say, you know what, that's a place I want to be. Yeah. So, I mean, my fiance is Cuban, and her mother came from Cuba and lived in Union City, which Union City has more Cubans per square mile than Havana, Cuba does. You know, so it's really something crazy. But we're talking about community. Yeah, 100%. And we're talking about talent. We're talking about attracting, businesses and stuff from abroad and all that. But obviously, there's been like a huge kind of swing on film in New Jersey. Big time. With Netflix coming here, Lionsgate coming here, setting up headquarters, all that kind of stuff. I mean, the Bruce Springsteen biopic, the Bob Dylan biopic, all these other films that are going on in New Jersey. That's got to be like, that's what do you think is the reason why maybe we're taking that talent and that kind of like awareness away from an LA or a New York or places like that? Yeah. So some of there's no one reason. Some of it for sure is financial. We incent these studios to both make stuff here and to build, I think even more importantly, to build permanent presence here. It's our talent, it's our location, it's a big union industry, and we're a big union state. So it's a combination of all of those. But you're right, Netflix is going to invest almost $1 billion in a 300-acre campus in Monmouth County. By the way, at Fort Monmouth, which was left for dead a decade or so ago, this has injected enormous life back there. Lionsgate building a big studio in the South Ward of Newark. 1888 Studios, which I think is going to have some big news to share over the summer in Bayonne, New Jersey. You've got studios in Jersey City, Carteret, Atlantic City. So I think it's a combination of all. We make the math work in a way that, by the way, works for the studios, but also importantly, most importantly, given my job, works for taxpayers.
Yeah.
We get a lot back for what we put. The chum we put in the water gives us a lot back. But again, talent, union friendly, and it's one thing to make stuff here. And you mentioned a bunch of the stuff, the West Side Story. Spielberg made it here. He's making something else here now. He loves making stuff in Jersey. We want that to happen all day long. But to think about building sound stages that'll have multi-decades of a life, there's a permanence there that is a huge game changer for our state. We're incredibly excited about all of that.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's so cool to see. Like, we're very friendly with the folks that own Ruts Hut, so like we're there quite a bit, and they've done a couple things with, we went to the Bob Dylan and the Bruce Springsteen movie. They've done some stuff there. I'm also curious too, like, and this show really, like I was mentioning to you off mic before, almost 4 years old. It's 180, I forget how many, 80 episodes in. It was really like built on the backs of small local businesses, like mom and pop shops, people just, entrepreneurs and really, that kind of stuff.
Telling their story.
That's what the crux of this show is.
And by the way, the film business is a huge game changer for those mom and pop stores.
Totally.
The deli, the diner, the dry cleaner, et cetera, that's going to get the hotels and restaurants, huge impact.
Absolutely. And I do think that there is, like, especially with, different industries and stuff like that coming in. I mean, obviously, like, progress is inevitable. Like, it's coming, and you can't expect the business that's been there for 100 years to stay there for 100 years more. It doesn't always happen that way.
You hope it does.
Yeah, you hope it does.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think it's still important too, where like that balance, striking that balance, because I think what makes New Jersey interesting is we're a really old state. We have a lot of old stuff that looks cool, is interesting. Like in Asbury Park, we just talked about, is something that has a lot of architecture and businesses that have been around for a while. So like, when you are, obviously it's not you always specifically, but when you're working with teams on how to bring companies in, does that like come into play, making sure you're striking that balance?
60% of all folks who are employed in New Jersey are employed by a small business.
Yeah.
So as proud as we are of Netflix or Johnson & Johnson or Merck or Verizon, all of whom are great corporate citizens and love Jersey, those small businesses continue to be the backbone of our economy. And you're getting me at a really good time. More people live in New Jersey than ever before.
Yeah.
More people are employed in New Jersey than ever before. And more businesses are in operation in New Jersey than ever before.
Yeah.
So for all the turmoil in Washington and around the country and around the world, inside the four walls of Jersey, we're humming. We're not perfect by a long shot, but we are humming right now.
Yeah.
And that includes especially small businesses.
Yeah, I mean, because like it's important. Like that's what downtowns are built on, and that what makes places like we talked about Montclair, or I said I live in Bloomfield, or a Morristown, or a Jersey City, like all these places.
Or look at the shore. The shore is a huge economy, 140 miles of shoreline, overwhelmingly powered by small businesses.
Yeah.
That's the story of our state, which
100%.
is something we're all incredibly proud of.
Yeah.
Again, not instead of the big guys, who we also love.
Yeah.
But there's an and both reality in New Jersey, which you don't get everywhere.
The coexisting of both of them.
The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes.
Speaking of something that you're proud of, we're proud of, and we were also talking off mic with the World Cup coming here in 2026. Obviously, the Club World Cup's going on right now.
Yep.
You are obviously, if people don't know, you're a huge soccer fan.
I am.
Where did that passion for you come from?
Yeah. So it's a fun story. One of my childhood friends, a guy named Gary Middleton, his parents were Scottish. They moved to America, and his dad was an obsessive fan with one of the big soccer clubs there. I think it was the Glasgow Rangers. And we used to listen to their matches on a transistor radio on a Saturday morning when I'd do a sleepover at his house. And I got the bug. I played it not well, I might add. Then ultimately in my business career lived in Germany, and Germany at that time were the defending, West Germany were the defending World Cup champs. So there was a real infectious element there. Started to really follow the clubs. Then married, had kids. All of our kids played at high levels. One of our sons won a national championship in college, Division III. We just got completely into what we play as a family. We bought into the women's pro team for New York, New Jersey, FC Gotham. We got in there, I think, earlier than we probably should have, but now it's the women's league and the women's sports are booming.
Yeah, we just did a whole episode not too long, like a few weeks ago, actually, with Yale Auerbach.
Yale is our GM,
great.
And she is a rock star.
Yeah, phenomenal.
She's constructed an incredible roster over the past 5 to 7 years. We were the champs a couple of years ago. I think we've got a good shot again this year. And as you mentioned, we've got the first ever Global Club World Cup right now. We have 9 matches, including a quarterfinal, both semis, and the final. If my math is right, this is going to air on the day of the first semi on July 8th. So we've got the 8th and the 9th, and then the final on the 13th. Shameless promotion, FIFA.com if you want tickets. And we've got some of the big boys. This game will have played by the time this airs, but Real Madrid is going to play Borussia Dortmund in the Meadowlands in New Jersey on Saturday, July 5th. In a game that counts. We've had a lot of summer soccer from the big European powers over the years, but those are exhibitions. This is for the marbles. And then next year, as you said, the granddaddy of them all, the World Cup, 8 matches, 5 first round, 2 eliminations, and what will be the most watched event, not sporting event, watched event in human history, the World Cup final on Sunday, July 19th. 2026. In Jersey, baby.
They said that's right, and they said they think 2-3 billion people.
The current estimate, 2.7 billion people will watch it. We'll have between 1 million and 2 million visitors. New York City's our co-host, by the way. Shout out to them. Great job. 1 million to 2 million visitors in the region. Economic impact 3 to 4 billion. 14,000 permanent jobs. I mean, it's an incredible win for the region, and we could not be more excited.
Can we talk too about, like I said before, we do a lot of stuff with different organizations like, the Statewide Hispanic Chamber or NJDBAC and the other organizations that are like kind of trying to prepare themselves for this World Cup coming next year. Obviously, there's a lot of things to prepare for when you talk about a few million people descending upon your region that you're not necessarily prepared for. You don't, interact with as much, especially with when we talked about. There's already a lot of people here, so
we're started. We're not like in the desert,
right?
We start with a lot of people.
It's not like a Fire Fest situation. It's like we already got a lot of people and we're adding more.
Did that ever happen, by the way?
I think they're trying to do it again. But they're always trying to do it again.
That was crazy.
Can we talk too about I think one of the things that I hear from a lot of business owners in those organizations is they went through the Super Bowl that came through here, which was obviously great and all that, for exposure and everything. But as soon as the Super Bowl was over, it was done.
Let me address that. I'm very happy you asked it, Mike. So a couple of very big differences. Number one, that game was in February.
That's right. That does hurt us.
So people descended largely from hotels in New York City into the Meadowlands at MetLife, went to the game, and went back largely to New York City. What's different? This is June and July. 8 matches. I can't speak to how the Super Bowl was managed, but I can speak to how this World Cup is being managed. There's a lot of Jersey in the engine room here. In fact, my wife is the chair of the host committee. Interestingly, it's the biggest World Cup ever in terms of the amount of teams. So it's going from 32 to 48 teams. That means it goes from 60-something matches to 104. I mentioned a minute ago, we're incredibly proud to have 8 matches at MetLife. That means if you do the math, there are 96 matches that will not be in MetLife. So what do? We just inaugurated a massive fan fest that will be at Liberty State Park in Jersey City. It'll televise on 22 massive screens every single match.
Yeah.
Capacity at any moment, 45,000. All sorts of small businesses and vendors in the area. And when I say at any moment, let's say there are 4 matches in a day. You may want to see a Germany match. I may want to see a Spain match. Will come and go.
Yeah.
So there'll be probably 75 to 100,000 people there, all told, during the day. We're going to make sure. Can you imagine the East Ward in Newark on a day that Portugal's playing?
Oh, my God.
Or Brazil is
Yeah,
playing?
it's going to be amazing.
We're going to make sure a huge bulk of the economic impact is in Jersey. A big bulk will still be in New York City, and by the way, they deserve it. We don't get this without New York City, and they don't get it without us.
Right.
Because we've got the stadium, and I mentioned Liberty State Park and other big assets. But we're going to get our fair share, I promise you that.
Yeah. And this must be, obviously like a very, like as a soccer fan, to be able to bring the biggest, you said, not just sporting event, but just event, particularly soccer, to the state, where I know, and I mentioned some other stuff in New Jersey Youth Soccer we work a lot with, and some other organizations that are really trying to grow the game.
Yeah.
And
so,
we've done stuff with Tab Ramos and John, John Harks and John Miola. So I think all that kind of stuff is really important to kind of growing the game overall here in Jersey.
So if I may, the Club World Cup is a month. The World Cup is 6 weeks. In and of those 4 weeks and 6 weeks, this will be the biggest show on earth.
Sure.
Right? And next year, as I said, the granddaddy of them all. But the real litmus test to whether or not we did a good job is what will it do to the kid who never would have thought about picking up soccer.
Sure.
Or the neighborhood that doesn't today have a pitch but will have one. Or what the legacy will look like 10, 20, 30 years from now. Last time the U.S. hosted a World Cup was 1994. Major League Soccer was born from that World Cup. You're going to see some very similar, I'm not sure what they'll be exactly, quantum leaps in the sport, in community engagement. As they say about soccer, all it takes is the ball.
That's right.
Anybody can play the sport. And I think in particular, driving that into underserved communities that don't right now, for whatever reason, not able to participate in the community elements of what soccer brings. That's, to me, the ultimate litmus test, and that's where the biggest legacy impact will be.
Yeah, for sure. I know we're getting closer and closer to the end of this episode. I know we have.
How can that be?
I know.
I got to talk to your guys here.
Chugging right along. Jeff wants to take your portrait at the end of this, so take your picture before you go.
Jeff needs more security clearance on his shirt here before
he could take Matt's, and we'll put. And then
Matt also could use some more.
We'll get him dragged out of here. Okay. New Jersey wine. You're a big proponent of New Jersey wine.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of stuff with the Wine Growers Association, over the last few years. Yeah. Let's quickly touch on that and how that stands up against wines from all over the world.
Yeah, I mean it's a secret that too few people know about.
Yeah.
We have a Gold Cup competition every year that we host at the Governor's Mansion. These wines hold up in blind taste tests against the best in the world. California and France and Italy and places that have been at it for hundreds of years. And the value for money, I mean, what you have to pay for a bottle of Jersey wine that holds up globally versus what you pay for some big ass, Cabernet name, Napa Valley is like it's a fraction.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, honestly, I look at the wine industry in particular, but craft brewery.
Sure.
Spirits now, increasingly. My wife, Tammy, passed sort of a rule 5 or 6 years ago in the Governor's Mansion, assuming it exists, we only serve Jersey stuff.
I love that.
So
I'll have to come visit.
You got to come visit.
That's my favorite.
We should have done this at Drumthwacket, ladies, to my colleagues. Maybe next time.
Yeah. Listen,
Sequel.
We'll do the radio show at
Let's do it
at
Drumthwacket.
I love it.
But the Jersey wine industry is a real, we are the Garden State.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in Newark right now. Other than there's some really cool vertical farms in Newark, you wouldn't associate where we are right now with a big ag state, but we are.
Yeah.
And wine is right in the middle of that.
Absolutely.
No question about it.
I think the last question, or one of the last questions that I have for you, and I love all the wine stuff because we've been able, had the opportunity to try a lot of them from a different vineyard.
I'm a Murphy. I like to drink.
Of course.
Okay,
Listen,
I want to get that off my chest.
Yeah, I think that's why we'll get along when we hang out later. When we're talking about New Jersey, and obviously, like people, you could talk about your legacy as governor, but I'm curious what you hope, down the road in the future, however many years from now, you hope people remember you as a New Jerseyan.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't focused. People have asked me. I'm hanging up my cleats as governor in January, so I get a lot of questions with about 6 or so months to go. What's your legacy?
Sure.
Da, da, da. Haven't thought about that honestly. I will say this, that we've run from day one on a very simple premise: stronger, fairer, more responsible. So stronger is, have you grown the economy, created more jobs? Fairer is, are you more equitable? Have you shrunk yawning gaps of inequity? And responsible is, can people trust you again as a state?
Right.
Whether it's the rating agencies or workers or counterparts. That, to me, is going to be the neighborhood in which I hope that folks will look back and say, you know what? They may not have been perfect. They may not have gotten everything done, but they were exactly who they said they were going to be, and they made a good amount of progress. As a New Jersey guy, it'll be much more personal. It'll be the legacy of the notion, as I mentioned earlier, of my wife and I bringing our kids up, making that volitional decision to bring them up in Jersey. It'll be the friends that we've made, probably in my case, some good Jersey attitude.
Sure, yeah.
You talking to me, we're from Jersey, baby, and you're not. I hope it'll be some good dose of that. We live on the shore, we love the shore. My guess is that'll be a good amount of our life going forward.
Yeah.
Just love this place.
I love that.
The people, love the place,
Yeah.
love the attitude, the character, everything we stand for.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that kind of brings us back to the beginning. Like when we talked about, you don't choose where you're born, but
Yeah.
you can choose where you lay your roots. And
You're going to get married.
Yep.
You and your wife will make those decisions. And,
Yeah.
and the ones we made are the best. To plant the flag here is the best call we ever made.
100%. Well, I have so many more questions, but I know that we're out of time. So I want to just thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day.
My honor,
Obviously a busy schedule, but I appreciate you squeezing us in. This is a great conversation. I really appreciate that.
Same with me.
And hope we'll get you on the radio show, introduce you to the soccer guys, and I'm sure they'll have a great conversation with that.
Shameless promotion for your radio show. What are your call letters?
We are not terrestrial radio. We are internet-based radio, so Radio Garden State.
Radio Garden State. Boom.
There you go. We don't talk about it
Switch
enough
it on
around
there.
here. Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting on there and maybe spinning some tunes or
Yeah.
talking soccer. Or you're the boss. I do what I'm told.
100%. Yeah, I got you. Don't worry. We'll take you for a great ride. Awesome.
Excellent.
So this has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. Thank you to Choose New Jersey for letting us use their space. Thank you to Governor Phil Murphy for being the guest. I'm Mike Ham. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.